Act 2, Alone, Chapter 8, Abby, Before, February 2nd, almost 5 months ago. Abby's lungs ached, her side burned, and her legs felt heavier than the trees she ran past. She forced herself to go faster anyway, trying to keep up with Dustin, who practically floated down the trail ahead of her. Why am I doing this? It wasn't the first time that she had that thought. But then they finally reached her house and stopped, and Dustin grinned at her, a wide, proud grin, and his whole face open and happy. And she knew exactly why she was doing this. Way to go, McBee. You're getting faster. Thanks, she gasped, putting her hands on her knees and sucking in air. She straightened and tried to look as if she weren't dying. The world swam, bright spots floating around her eyes. She needed to go in and sit down, but Dustin was still standing between her and the door, barely sweating, not even breathing hard. His face was flushed a little, the freckles across his nose very visible against the pink, his green eyes extra bright. He was always the cutest after working out. By contrast, Abby knew she looked like a splotchy, sweaty, stringy-haired mess. He finally seemed to look at her, and his smile slid away. Are you okay? Great, she croaked. Never better. His grin came back. That's the right attitude. And he punched her lightly in the shoulder. Abby sighed. Over the past few months, sometimes it seemed as if he actually liked her. Like, as a girl. And when he'd offered to coach her after cross-country season ended, she thought that maybe he was looking for a way to spend more time alone with her. And so, of course, she accepted. But then he'd shown her his training plan, with dates set and distances planned, and a stopwatch prepared and everything. Still, he'd asked to come over today. That had to mean something. Maybe in her house, away from the trails and their teammates and all the rest, he would, well, she wasn't sure what she was hoping for. Profess his love for her? Ask her on a non-running date? So, are we going in or what? He asked. Abby blinked. Had she seriously been standing there, staring at him? Her face burned, and she was grateful for once that running always turned her into a tomato. Sorry, I'm just, thinking about how I could improve my time out there. Dustin's grin was wider than ever, and Abby knew she'd said the exact right thing. It's so cool that you love running like I do, he said. I haven't met too many people who really understand. Abby winced and quickly brushed past him to open her front door. She hated lying to him, but maybe someday she would actually love running too. A stitch throbbed in her side, and she felt like she might puke. Okay, she'd probably never really love running, she decided, but she could fake it for as long as she needed to. Is your family home? Dustin asked, following her inside. My dad is probably in his home office. She closed the door behind them. My mom is at work, and my sisters, she hesitated. Both Emma and Ollie were mad at her right now, and here she was, bringing a boy home with her for the first time ever. It was definitely tempting fate, like waving a juicy steak in front of a tiger. She just hoped they wouldn't do anything too embarrassing. Well, they're around, she finished. She knocked off her shoes at the door. Dustin didn't. She hesitated, then led him to the kitchen without saying anything. She hadn't noticed how messy it was until this moment, seeing it through Dustin's eyes. The dishes stacked next to the sink, the flour spilled across the countertops, the boxes of cereal left out. To her horror, Dustin walked past all of that and over to the fridge, where embarrassing family photos were pinned up by equally embarrassing magnets. Big sunglasses, cartoonish dogs, even a poop emoji that Ollie had insisted they needed. You had a perm? He asked, squinting at a photo of Abby, Emma, and their mom, all of them with matching curly hair. Abby wished she had thought to take those pictures down and burn them. My mom made me, and my sister go with her. We both swore we'd never let it happen again. That's too bad. You're awfully cute. Like a tiny clown. He grinned. She was definitely burning them. Thanks, she muttered. She grabbed 2 glasses and filled them with water, thrusting one in Dustin's hand so he'd look away from the fridge. There was a picture of her as a toddler running around wearing nothing but a few strips of toilet paper that she really, really didn't want him to notice. Want to sit down? And I think my dad baked cookies if you'd like one. Definitely. He turned away from the fridge and followed her to the small kitchen table wedged near the window. Her parents called it their breakfast nook, but in reality it was their drop your mail and papers here nook. Abby hurriedly shuffled stuff to the side, clearing space, then put down the plate of freshly baked peanut butter cookies. Sorry about the mess. It's cozy. I like it. Dustin sat down in a chair next to her. Then he scooted in closer. Abby caught her breath, then forced herself to pick up a cookie and take a small, casual bite, chewing until the peanut butter and sugar evaporated into her mouth. She didn't taste any of it. She could feel Dustin watching her. But why? 1,000 fantasies played themselves out in her mind in rapid succession. Dustin telling her he liked her, inviting her to the 8th grade formal, asking if he could hold her hand or kiss her. She shoved those fantasies away, burying them in the bottom of her mind the way that she'd buried her stuffed animals in the back of her closet. She needed to be cool, confident, like boys came over and sat in her kitchen all the time. She took another bite of her cookie. I'm really glad you invited me over, Dustin said. Abby almost choked. She took a big swig of water. Cool, she reminded herself. Confident. She pasted on a smile. Technically, you invited yourself over. He laughed. He had a tremendous laugh, warm and light, like a river burbling gently over rocks in the sun. Okay, yes, I did do that, but only because I got tired of waiting for you to do it. Bold move, Cleary. Well, I'm a bold person, McBee. His smile softened, his eyes on her. And speaking of bold, there's something I've wanted to tell you for a while now. Uh, yeah? Abby's heart raced faster than Dustin ever had. She could feel the beat of it throbbing in her ears. Was this real? This moment felt as fragile as the spun sugar on one of her dad's famous cakes. Dustin leaned in closer, so close she could smell the peanut butter on his breath. I really like. Well, 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 her dad said from the kitchen doorway. Abby squeaked and almost fell out of the chair. Who is this stranger in my kitchen? Her dad crossed his arms and gave Dustin the old beady-eyed look. Abby could have died. It was like her dad had picked the absolute worst possible moment on purpose. Dad, she managed. This is Dustin from cross country. Dustin, my dad. Dustin stood up and waved. Hello, sir. Not really a fan of the whole sir thing. Oh, Dustin said. Sorry. And I see you've been into my cookies, her dad continued. Dad, Abby hissed. Abby, her dad said back, his lip twitching. He was having fun with this. Abby decided she didn't feel like dying. She felt like murdering. Stop glaring at me, daughter mine. Stop teasing me, father mine, she shot back. She tossed her hair back behind her shoulders and turned to Dustin. Want to see my room? He glanced uneasily at her dad. If that's okay. Of course it is, Abby said quickly, daring her dad to contradict her, but he just shrugged. Have fun, he said. Abby relaxed and led Dustin out of the kitchen. And keep your door open, her dad hollered after them. Abby's face burned. What must Dustin think? And here she'd been worried about her sister. My room is right here, she said quietly once they reached the top of the stairs. She opened her door, flicked on the lights, and froze. Color screamed out at her. Every inch of her walls were covered in posters of unicorns sliding down rainbows, hippos wearing tutus, multicolored dancing kittens, and more, all of them garshingly bright, like a rainbow had thrown up all over the place. But it got worse. Her bed was covered beneath a tide of carefully placed stuffed animals. Abby recognized the ones that she had purposely hidden in her closet, now put on full display along with a bunch of Emmas. Her dresser had been lined with Barbie dolls they'd never gotten around to donating, each posed dramatically, and in the middle of the floor, Ollie's old My Little Ponies were having some sort of tea party. Abby couldn't tear her eyes away. This was not possible. She was having a dream, a nightmare. It couldn't be real. Wow, Dustin whispered. Well, yeah. Abby shook herself. It's not. I'd better get going. Dustin backed away. Your dad, didn't seem like he wanted me to stay long. He was almost at the stairs now. Wait, Dustin, this isn't my stuff. I don't. Abby flailed, her humiliation so hot she thought she might burn up on the spot. But Dustin wasn't listening. I'll catch you later, he called over his shoulder as he practically sprinted down the stairs. Abby heard the front door slam shut behind him. She moved slowly into her desecrated bedroom and sat on the bed, still in shock. Dustin had been about to tell her that he liked her. She was sure of it, but now she imagined him telling his friends about this, and her humiliation grew even hotter until it sizzled into a burning rage. Her sisters had done this. They had untied everything and united against her and ruined everything. Abby picked up one of Emma's stuffed animals, a dog with floppy ears, and chucked it at the wall. It didn't help. She was still furious. She had never been so angry in her life. Ollie was just being her normal bratty self, but Emma, she was supposed to be her friend, and she'd stabbed her in the back. Abby picked up another one of Emma's toys, this time a snowy owl with a head that turned in a circle. She dug her fingers into the material at the neck. She knew Emma was upset about her canceling on the movie, but this, sabotaging her chances with Dustin? Gritting her teeth, Abby popped the owl's head out and then dropped it on the floor. If Emma wanted more, that's fine. She'd give her a war.